Hey, what's good everyone? Local Iceman here. Sitting here at day 3 of the ice installation. Sorry I didn't get anything out yesterday and day 2. I kind of had a house out to a soccer park and wasn't really to wrap anything up or wrap everything up as far as video wise. It just kind of left me at cleaning the condenser out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over what I'm going to do today and what I did yesterday. I'm going to cut to what I did yesterday's video, then we'll cut over here to what I did today, and it's going to be a little bit longer. I'm sorry, but it's going to be just a lot of steps and me going back and forth, and I'm just trying to get everything together here to get the ice ready. So as you see here, I floor exam just initially outside. I got someone coming in here in about an hour. I'm going to have him floor exam the rink here. I just want to hit the outside so I can start caulking around the edges. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. But basically what my goals today is get the floor clean, get the system filled with brine, and get the condenser clean. So what I got to do is I'm going to wait a little bit longer. We're at about the 24-hour mark. I think we're at about, I don't know, like 22 hours. So I think it would be okay to start filling it, but not turn it on yet. But I'm going to wait for that because I'm not quite there yet. So, but yesterday I started working on the condenser, started cleaning out the inside. I got the fans tightened, I got the bearings greased. So I got to finish cleaning the inside, clean the screen out and the screen inside, then start filling it up and turn it on, kind of get that ready to go. The water will start pumping, but the fans won't turn on until there's an actual load on it. But I want to get that running. I got little odds and ends. Ideally, I still want to go around and tighten screws and replace screws around the kick strips and stuff, and making sure everything's solid. And there's a few pieces of rink board that need to be replaced. And again, ideally, like right here, that this, we just don't have the money to fix this kind of stuff right now. So that needs to be replaced like right now. I mean, the best time to do this type of work is right now. So I may have to go through before things get cold and make sure everything is stuck back up against the metal frame there, because over the years ice has kind of pushed that out. So there's a little maintenance I still got to do, but I'm not going to be able to replace any kind of plywood or kick strip or puck board this time around. So let's go ahead and cut to what I did yesterday, then we'll kind of get back to what I'm doing today. I'm not going to do much time lapse with the floor exam or show me caulking the rink. I think that's just kind of wasted time for you guys. I mean, I may show a little bit here in a little box or something. I don't know. We'll see about that. So, all right, enjoy the video and check back in later. As soon as I get everything plumbed up, I'll show you me draining the chiller here. Not terribly excited. Then we'll check back in when Dakota gets here and show you how he fixes the leak there. All right, here goes nothing. I'll step a little bit. Okay, so here we go. Here is your calcium chloride right there. You definitely need to add some rust inhibitor. Last time I took a reading, it was on the light side. One thing I'm going to do here, it's draining. I'm going to climb up here and open this up, because right now I think there's like an airlock in there. This should help. Yeah, there you go. You can hear that. Let's go back over here. I'm sure this is going pretty good. Yeah, there we go. Now, let me go ahead and open that up all the way. There we go. I'll show you a picture here of the chiller that I took before it was installed. It was sitting outside here next to my truck. This white stuff was painted on after the fact. It's an insulation. It's creased it a little bit. All right, we're just gonna let her drain and monitor it and wait for coats to show up. All right, there you have it. That's all the brine out of the system. Just got done draining the last bit out of it. It's drained. So all that was in the chiller there, I would say down to that bottom pipe right there. So including this upper tube right here and this tube, gosh, right about to, we may have to drain a little bit out of, there may be some coming out of here. When he cuts it right here, I bet that this is also going to need to be drained, because we drained it down to right about here. So This whole tube right here still has brine in it. Yeah, we still need to drain all that out of there. Ooh. Okay, well. All right, so got Dakota up there, prepping that side. I had everything drained on the chiller, but I realized that this bottom pipe needs to be drained. So after weighing our options here, I think that we're gonna drill a hole in this corner here, drain out this way. That was my idea. Unless it goes horribly wrong, then it's Dakota's idea. So I want to think this thing through here for a second, right, before I pop a hole. And I'm using a long drill bit so I don't get the stuff on my drill. I assume this is going to squirt out of me. That's how you do it in Sportsplex. All right. So we're already getting that drained. Dakota's over here with the splash guard, 2-part epoxy. He was using some, I'm gonna ask him to explain a little bit of the process before he splashes that splash zone on. But he got that good and cleaned up right down. All right, for the TV audience at home, that weld on, is that just more of a prepping the surface there?
Yep.
Got it all cleaned up. So 2-part epoxy, is that what this is?
Yeah, marine grade 2-part epoxy splash zone it's called.
All right, Dakota got some water in his hands. Probably for what? For stickiness?
Yeah, it'll stick to you big time if you don't. Basically, you want to, like that. Warm water seems to work better. You want to just make 2 evenly sized balls, kind of.
Peanut butter and jelly there, huh?
Exactly. And then mix it together until it turns like a nice greenish color.
You're gonna have to probably put a couple layers on, or?
I'll just put one real nice thick one.
Okay. Is that gonna be enough right there, or are you gonna eat a couple balls? Okay.
Do it in a couple balls. It's just easier to deal with. It's small.
Sure.
And that's a pretty good consistency.
He's just slapping that shit on. That's terribly exciting to see. It seemed like it stopped leaking, but
We'll make sure.
safe and sorry. Like you said, leaks usually don't get better. I mean,
No.
they both actually kind of stopped leaking yesterday,
Did they?
even when the system was still running. Like,
Oh, really? You want to bump it on?
yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right, Dakota just packed his stuff up. He's out of here. We're good to go on the repairs there. We're not quite good to go. We have to wait 24 hours for that splash guard to set up. We're actually good to go on this one. This one we could fill it up and fire it up, even though the PVC glue. He did use PVC glue on a couple of joints, but that's already set up. But this splash guard, since he put such a heavy coat on it, he says it's gonna need 24 hours to set up. Other than that, what's going on? I'm in the condenser right now. I'll show you that here in a minute. I got new belts for the #1 fan for the condenser. I gotta dig into the #2 fan. Nevertheless, we have to let this sit 24 hours. And the first thing we're gonna do basically is start circulating brine through the system. Double check there's no leaks. We did turn the compressor skid on. They let the crankcase heaters warm up. So that's kind of where we at. We still got a couple of things probably to do in here. I know that brine filter, this is a brine filter, and that hasn't been cleaned out. So I think that before this thing gets frozen, I'm gonna isolate this filter here, pull it out, hose it off. I remember Dakota doing that years ago, so it's probably be a good call to get that thing cleaned out. Then come over here on the ice. The Florzam's almost done charging. Get the Florzam out here today. Do a couple rounds of it, start caulking. Come over here to the condenser over here. The condenser, we gotta really make sure we definitely take a look at this thing. So we got two belts right here. I'll put a little picture of the belt. The belt, why I want to replace it, is you can see a couple of bad spots in it. So right on startup, I'm sure that would have snapped. So I still gotta tighten this belt. I'm gonna grease the bearings. I gotta check with the boss first, but I think that we should at least order the bearings and have a set of bearings here just in case, because these things were getting kind of loud towards the end. This #2 fan just doesn't run as much during the summertime, and definitely putting the ice in, it's gonna run. So these both are gonna be running a lot. That's why I wanna make sure these things are up to par. All right, here's the #2 fan right here. Belts are looking good. I went and spun them all the way around to this little access point right here. It looks pretty good. The tension looks good. And all I gotta do is grease these bearings through these zert ports right here. Slap the cover on. And I'd say we're good to go, but then we're gonna come down here and clean these access screens out. Take one of them off, take a look inside. I guess we could close that valve right there after we get done cleaning it. Start filling it up. Typically I would take these panels off and hose them off really good, but these things are kind of a pain to get back on and they start cracking and chipping. So cleaning them off this way, I think it's just as good. It may wash some debris inside here, but I need to clean that screen out anyway. I'm gonna rinse everything towards the center. When I pull this screen out, I got some mesh wiring, like screened wire mesh. I'm gonna lay in there, rinse the rest of it out, then take it out, clean it up. I may pop a couple of those things off on that side just to get some light in here, but I don't want to take too many of these covers off. They're really hard to get back on and they start breaking apart. So basically what I'm doing is just rinsing out, because you can see that these little air vents, I pulled one out here, Miles. Take a look at it right here. It's a little hard to see through, but you can see that these are little air vents that let air go in, but not debris. So I want to make sure these things are nice and clean. I just want to make sure these things are nice and clean, because when these fans kick on, it pulls air in through this way and up through the tubes this way and back out this way. So air is being sucked through these little screens, filter screen mesh panels here. So I want to make sure they're nice and clean. Let's get on it and continue on with it. Time for a day 2 update here. Like I said, the goals for today were to get the concrete ready, get the brine pumped up and the condenser cleaned up, hopefully turn the system on today. So far so good, going pretty good. Got the rink all caulked up all the way around. Got most of the rink Florzam. Got to finish a little spot, as well as probably do one more Florzam just to do one more final clean. I want to give a special thanks to Dave. Dave gave me a call yesterday, a local hockey player. His family's played hockey for a long time. Sister actually, Jova Zamboni. He had some spare time this week and next week. He really wants to help out, make sure we get the ice in. If there's anything we could do, if there's anything he could do to help, he wanted to be here for us. So I told him to come in today and he could run the Florzam for a little bit. So he Florzammed the initial one until he ran out of the battery, which it really shouldn't have. I got a full charge on that, so I gotta charge it up one more time, then hit this one more time. So we're almost good with the surface right here, despite some miscellaneous stuff we gotta do here. I still yet gotta put this threshold down, put some caulk and threshold down. Typically, I would like to wait a little bit longer to cool the slab down and let the caulk set up, but we really don't have that luxury right now. As you can see here, I'm down to 1 garbage can full of brine here, so it's pumping up pretty good. I didn't think the pump was going to be able to handle it, but it did. So essentially what I did is I moved the pump from garbage can to garbage can like 3 times, but it would develop an airlock each time and have to tip the thing sideways and fiddle with it. So I just got a bucket and started dumping buckets from one garbage can to another until it's all gone. So I got distracted here a little bit. I got to make sure I got this valve open right here just to kind of help air bleed the chiller out. I want to make sure that nothing starts flowing out that valve. I did open up that valve and the one that's located up next to the expansion tank before I started filling it. And now I'm thinking about it, let me just go ahead and close this valve because I know I'll start babbling and get sidetracked and Brian will start shooting out of here. So let's go ahead and close that guy. And as you can hear it a little bit, still filling up. I think I may have to add a little more water to the system until we get a calcium chloride in a couple days, which is okay. And I also got to keep an eye on this thing because as it gets kind of low, I've been kind of tipping the garbage can sideways. But I got to get some gloves back on. This stuff is really corrosive. So I got to make sure that everything gets washed down. I did move the machine outside. I didn't want to accidentally get this stuff splashed anywhere near it. It's totally corrosive. And out here in the condenser, I'm just about done. I was gonna finish up cleaning while I was kind of pumping that stuff up. I just got kind of sidetracked. So basically what I gotta do is just start filling it up, circulate water through it, and I think we're good to go other than just a little test fire. So I think for now, I'm just gonna finish up the pump here, and then I'll kick on the brine to make sure, it looks like it's actually kind of full up there. So let me climb up there and see exactly where that level is and if we're good to go and kind of the next step. All right, I got the water going here, filling the condenser up. You can see the little float switch right here. It's really set up to water should always be somewhat flowing in here. So even when it's never gonna really fully shut off, you want some fresh water entering the system just to kind of keep it cooled down. I know as it evaporates, it's gonna turn the float on, but as recommended, this water is still pretty dirty. I didn't get it as cleaned out as I wanted to. I can see some shit floating in there. We'll let the screen pick up all that stuff up. Maybe after a couple of days of running, I'll shut it down, clean that screen out, and turn it back on again. All right, so I got my condenser filling up. It's about 1/3 full, looking good. As soon as it's full, I'll kind of shut the water off. There's a little float switch in there, but I don't like to keep the water valve fully on. I'll crack it till about 1/4. I'm not gonna turn the condenser fans on, but let me check the breakers and see what the kind of our next step is here. So we want to keep the variable speed off, subfloor heat. That's what's still on. Dehumidifier is on, cooling fan, evaporator fan. Kick that on. Pump, we don't want to turn the pump to the evap fan on quite yet, but we will kick on, or at least turn on the fan switches. That's the condenser water pump, that's the heat recovery pump. So since those are off, I can go ahead and turn on the evap pump breaker. So the next 2 things again have to go on is the heat recovery pump, which is this guy right here, and a condenser water pump, which is that guy right there. But before I do that, I want to turn the brine pump on and let some brine circulate here for a while and make sure that these leaks are solid, or the patches to the leaks are solid. Then we'll kind of go for there. But it's well over 24 hours, so I think we're good to go. I'm gonna double check, make sure the main valves are open. We didn't close that. Okay. I want to close this one right here. And I want to close this one right here. And this one actually needs to get open right here again. That last one was for the subfloor heat, but Cut that on. See, something I skipped yesterday is that we did repair a leak right there for the subfloor heat, so we're gonna have to top that system off. This new one needs to go back on. All right. That one's open. That stays there, that stays there. All right, there's some random stuff I need to get rid of here. I'm gonna clean some stuff up here. I guess I'm just kind of delaying. I don't want to turn it on, but here we go. All right. Definitely working hard. No, just make sure there's something there. All right, we've been running for about 10 minutes now. Everything looking good. Knock on wood. So happens to my house. You knock on wood, dog starts barking. All right, the system's been about 10 minutes. It's actually getting a little warmer, 73 now. So we just need to monitor everything. Make sure nothing leaks. Coming over here. You could hear it sloshing through here. So it probably would be good to bleed the ends of the header pipes. Anywhere there is a bleeder valve, we'll bleed a little air off it just to make sure, but we're gonna wait until it has time to circulate. Since we didn't really drain it down to the header, I don't really see there being a lot of air in there, but some air probably got in there because the chiller was empty. All right, next step we're gonna do is turn the condenser pump on, turn the water on, just check the water, we're up to level there, so let's go ahead and hit it. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I need to close this valve a little bit. I also need to adjust that float just a little bit, because this doesn't need to be all the way on. This just needs to be just kind of like barely going. Then the next thing on the to-do list here is going to be to turn the heat recovery pump on. Heat recovery pump. So that is circulating water between the storage tank here up into the heat recovery, and the water is just circulating back and forth. It's picking up heat and dropping it off here, and as we pull water out of here from the Zamboni, or when water passes through this other heat exchanger that's kind of hiding right there, this guy right there, heat is pulled from the system, and more heat could also then be drawn for the system. So mental checklist, we got the condenser fans going, water's going, heat recovery pumps going, brime's going. Leaks are looking, repairs looking solid on the leaks. One thing I gotta do before, right before startup is open this valve right here. All right. I'm gonna hold off right now, let the system run here a little bit before we go on to the next step. But for now, I still gotta put this plate down. So let me go ahead and get this flipped over, get it caulked, and get it bolted down. Finish up with this floor zam right here. All right, well, I got the threshold in right here, got my screws down. Typically, I would caulk the bottom of this in the front of it and slap it down and bolt it down. But right before I busted the caulk bottle out, I was thinking to myself, I gotta pull this thing up every couple months, every 3 or 4 months anyway, because ice gets underneath it and starts heaving up and pushes against the door. So that caulk is not doing any good at all. So I'm gonna skip that. I may run a bead across the front here, but if we're taking it up anyway, no big deal. And if it does seep under, it's gonna go into trench. I did check my caulking job right here, and it's pretty dry, so I think we're good to go and safe to start cooling down the slab, which brings me to my next point right here. And since you're looking at this TSP, trisodium phosphate here, this is what I use to clean the concrete. I don't use any kind of chemicals or detergents. This is what's recommended in the ice rink field or industry. So this is kind of what I've been using. I bought this box last time, so it lasts a couple times. So it's almost empty here. I just pour, I don't know, like a quarter of the box in there, filled up with water, and go ahead and clean the concrete slab there. So this is what you want to use, or at least this is what's recommended by Star Training and things like that. Coming over here, everything's been going for a couple hours now, I say. You know, the brine pump, maybe 2.5 hours. The condenser and the hot water recovery system's been going for about, an hour, hour and a half. Let's check out this temperature right here. So it is, I think it went from 73 to 70 to 74. I'll check the video on that, the video replay. I think I can open this valve up here with, I rarely get the proper pliers, but I got these right here. So right here, got this little ball valve right here I gotta open up. Oh, there we go. This one right here. Even though we're gonna be starting the compressors up hopefully today, I'll just be happy getting 1, maybe 2 going, go over the weekend. I just wanna kinda get things going and slowly cool it down. And hopefully if everything goes right, we can start making ice on Tuesday or something. Again, starting to press record in the camera when we first started the system up, when we first hit the first compressor there. Essentially what Vonnie did when he came in, he kind of inspected everything, made sure everything's going, kind of inspected, started feeling tubes around, making sure that if that tube's supposed to be warm, that's supposed to be warm. If that one's supposed to be cold, it's not supposed to be warm yet, that it's cold. Inspected the crankcase heaters. That's something I didn't do that I should have. Basically, the day before I turned the compressor skid on to warm the crankcase heaters up, but the following day, I should have felt the crankcases themselves and kind of felt down towards the oil pan area on the side of the block there, the compressor block, to make sure each compressor was warm, because you want to make sure the crankcase heaters is warm, the oil is warm, the compressor is warm before you start it up. Because you start the compressor up on a cold start, it's not really good. So I know in the past, Vonnie's always kind of harped on making sure, those crankcase heaters are warm. So just because the crankcase or the compressor skid is on, doesn't mean those heaters are warming up. So let time for those heaters to warm up, give them a check. That's one thing that I didn't really do in the process to inspect to make sure. Because he asked me, are the crankcase heaters warm? I'm like, we turned them on. He's, oh yeah, but are they warm? So Vonnie's hands down the best refrigeration guy. But again, after you make sure everything was going and crankcase heaters were warm, you kind of hit that first compressor. And the first compressor, that thing was loud. Like he's saying, this concrete was as warm as it's ever been. So it was sitting here at 78 degrees, 4 months sitting here. It was a pretty warm sheet of concrete slab, so to say. So he reminded me when I first, because that brine pump was pumping, you know, good couple hours before we turned the first compressor on. So the brine going through that chiller was pretty warm too. It had to be up around 50, 60 degrees. Oh, you saw the brine return temperature. It was 73 degrees. So you know that stuff was warm. So when we first turn that compressor on, it feels that heat right away. So that's why you gotta make sure you do things slowly and in order. But before he kicked on the first compressor, he kicked on the liquid line solenoid, hit the first compressor switch, inspected everything, again, felt around, making sure that, you know, the discharge side is hot and the suction side, you know, just going around and checking, inspecting things, feeling things. He did a lot of feeling and looking just to make sure that things were running right. That's basically, you know, that's, yeah, I can't tell you enough on how much expertise you saw walk around that room. So the next thing right here is that I'm going to do a little more floor examine. I finished up the area that he didn't get to because the battery is dead, and I probably got another quarter into it. So I'm going to do another floor exam here and call it good. And we got 2 compressors running, and what we're going to do is we're going to meet here tomorrow. It's probably around 7 o'clock, 6:45 right now. We're going to meet here tomorrow about noon and turn that 3rd compressor on. You can kind of see how it goes. I'm not sure if we're going to wait to turn the 4th compressor on, but we're going to see. So let me grab my little temperature thing here. So I was going to do a video featuring this thing, but it's kind of lame that I have to kind of do like this. This doesn't really record. So, but as you can see, it's a thermal imager, and he wants me to make some measurements. So when he first started, this concrete was at 78, 79. So he wanted me to verify the same spot, just right off this little spot right here. So in about, you know, 45 minutes, we've dropped it 6 degrees. And he said that, you know, 72 is the lowest or the highest he's ever seen it. To have it up around 78 is pretty warm. And like those 2 compressors, that's also why he was concerned. He was explaining to me some stuff that those 2 compressors are doing a lot of work right now. Like we first turned that number 1 compressor on, I didn't have the video rolling. It was loud, and you could see that we had some ear protection in there because it was loud, it was screaming. Those 2 compressors, you know, this is what he said, are doing a tremendous amount of work right now because they have to remove this, you know, bring this slab that's 71 degrees down to temperature here, or whatever we want it, like at, probably want it down around 16 or something. But for us being shut down for this long, the concrete itself never had the time to fully warm up. So being, you know, typically we're down 2-3 weeks tops. I think when we switch ownerships, we're down for a month tops. But being down for the 4 months right now, this concrete has really gotten warm. So the system's going to be doing a lot of work here initially to cool the slab down. So that's one reason why we're just going to be running 2 compressors until things kind of settle down. And like I said, we'll come in tomorrow and kind of check things out and do an evaluation. I think it'd probably work better if I take that off. There you go. So, wow, no, that's not right. Wow, look at that. Those are not the cooling tubes, are they, down there? Getting cold? Wow. I didn't think that would show this. It's not really, again, I was kind of got distracted here. This thing is not top of the line kind of equipment. You know, if you bought this thing brand new, you know, equivalent to this thing, adjusting for inflation, you'd have a really nice unit. And this thing, I could take pictures. They could just save that picture right there, but it doesn't take video, hence why I kind of have the video here just like this. But as you can see there, I'm telling you, man, there's a cooling tubes. Let me put this down here for a second because there is a little focus knob on this thing. Let me get it focused here. So you kind of see the cooling tubes right there. And I'm assuming the one in the middle probably is the return tube that's warm. So it's going out warm, it's going out cold. By the time it makes it back here, it's quite cold or warm. All right, so I'm gonna shut the doors here. start getting this place chilled down. I got the dehumidifiers on, so we're good to go with that. Let me get the chair off, finish the floor exam, then go get some dinner. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching. As always, hope you learned something. And like the local iceman says, stay cool.